This is Andrew Innes from redsky.uk.net. We employed the services of a creationist, also from the UK, a chap called Malcolm Bowden. I did say that we would absolutely prove, beyond any shadow of doubt, that evolution never happened. And that's what we're going to do right now. Because there's something that we've been holding back. We've been holding back right for this very moment. And to help me explain it, I'm going to use my globe bar over here. Okay, so this is my globe bar, and as you can see, it opens up. Well, of course, our planet doesn't really do that. It doesn't open up and you can't put things inside it. But there's a couple of other things that this globe bar does that our planet also doesn't do. For example, it rotates. And our planet Earth does not rotate. It is not turning around once every 24 hours. Now this globe bar is also on wheels, so it can move about. But our planet Earth is fixed. It does not rotate. It is not moving at all. The Earth is not rotating. The Earth is not moving through space. It is fixed. The Sun, the Moon, the planets, the stars, the whole lot orbits us once per day. Yes, we live in a geocentric universe. We live in a geocentric universe.
We live in a geocentric universe.
This is Malcolm Bowden. I'd like to talk to you on the subject of the Earth being in the centre of the universe. There were 4 very important experiments carried out in connection with our movement in the Sun and the stars. One of them is very well known. The other, as I say, have been carefully hidden away. The one that is really well known is the Michelson-Morley experiment. Michelson and Morley set up an experiment with 2 long tubes at right angles to each other. And they passed light backwards and forwards in these 2 tubes, one at right angles to their direction and one in the line of the direction of their movement around the Sun.
Ah yes, the Michelson-Morley experiment, by far the most famous null result in history and a critical turning point in physics that would inevitably lead to the supersession of ether hypotheses.
To their astonishment, they found that they were not going round the Sun at all. We were in fact pretty well stationary, it seemed.
Excuse me? Malcolm, have you actually read Michelson's paper on the experiment? You know, the one that you cited in your own video? Because I have, and I think you'll find that they did not, to their astonishment, find that the Earth is stationary. Now, allow me to give you Michelson's conclusions in his own words. And I quote, "The result of the hypothesis of a stationary ether is thus shown to be incorrect, and the necessary conclusion follows that the hypothesis is erroneous. This conclusion directly contradicts the explanation of the phenomenon of aberration, which has been hitherto generally accepted, and which presupposes that the Earth moves through the ether, the latter remaining at rest." You see, Malcolm, Michelson and Morley did not set out to prove or disprove the motion of the Earth. That was well derived from celestial mechanics, a group of theories that had shown themselves to be worthy of acceptance by their agreeability with experiment and their ability to make accurate, testable predictions. No, Michelson and Morley set out to test for ether wind, and in doing so, they inadvertently became the first to falsify the ether hypothesis. The reason it was such a shocking result was simply because the hypothesis was very well accepted up to that point. But Malcolm, this is how science works.
We were expecting to measure a speed of about 30 kilometres per second. And the highest measurements they got were around about 10 kilometres per second, down to something like 1 or 2 kilometres per second. Nothing like the 30 kilometres per second that they were expecting. This threw the whole of the scientific community into complete chaos. They simply did not know how to handle this particular factor.
Evidently, Malcolm, you don't know how to deal with it either. I mean, if your proposed stationary Earth hypothesis were true, would we not expect a result of 0 kilometers per second? Ether was a fairly sticky hypothesis. Many scientists were fond of it, and as such, it did not immediately die off. Indeed, many scientists tried to accommodate it with variations on the theory. Michelson and Morley themselves continued to repeat their experiment, although separately, and Morley would inspire Miller to do several large-scale versions of the Michelson-Morley experiment. For most ether proponents of the day, the results remained inconclusive, and they were certainly inconsistent. Inevitably, it would be Fitzgerald, Lorentz, and finally Einstein who nailed up the coffin for the ether. But you know that, and I'm the kind of guy who likes to give people the benefit of the doubt. So, Malcolm, why don't you explain that without trying to twist the facts into some kind of conspiracy of science? Don't disappoint me.
So they very quickly rushed out, you might call it, and invented what is known as the Fitzgerald-Lorentz contraction. And they claimed that perhaps one of these long tubes was shortened when it was going at right angles to the direction of motion. And that compensated it for the shortening of the readings that they were getting. That these readings were not as big as they should have been because there was some problem with the equipment they were using. It was a complete invention.
Well, Malcolm, I can't say I'm surprised, but you clearly do not even understand what it is you're dismissing. Firstly, the contraction occurs in the tube that is aligned parallel to the direction of motion of the Earth, or the direction of motion of the experiment. And secondly, it is by no means a rushed-out invention. Both Fitzgerald and Lorentz hit on the idea completely separately after being inspired by work in electrodynamics. It would take Lorentz several years to be able to reconcile the implications of this work in electrodynamics with general motion, but in doing so he was able to show elegantly that his hypothesis could entirely account for Michelson and Morley's null result.
A few years later, Einstein produced his theory of relativity, and where we could measure the speed of the Earth going through the atmosphere, through the ether, then he just simply got rid of the problem by abolishing the ether.
Well, no, not exactly, and therein lies the power and beauty of relativity, because Einstein was able to independently derive the Fitzgerald-Lorentz contraction without invoking the ether. He derived it entirely from the principle of relativity. So, unlike Lorentz, he was able to accommodate Michelson and Morley's null result without the need for the ether at all. Since then, relativity has come a very long way into the realm of experimental physics and observational cosmology, and indeed other Lorentzian transformations which can be derived from the principle of relativity, such as time dilation, have been observed and verified experimentally. This lends credence to the length contraction hypothesis, and the Large Hadron Collider might actually be the first experiment capable of observing it directly. I know a proposal has been put forward. So basically, Malcolm, if you want to dredge up the ether hypothesis, you're going to have to do better than that. I know you've put forward other experiments that you believe supposedly prove your geocentric hypothesis, and rest assured the refutations are on their way. In the meantime though, I just have one question. What does any of this have to do with evolution?